Вітаю на каналі Літкод Україна, де ми проводимо черговий мок з Вікторією. Привіт, Вікторія.
Привіт.
Так, мок буде англійською, як ви вже знаєте, щоб максимально наблизитися до реальних обставин. So, Victoria, how are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
Same, actually, because we are here today. It is amazing, right, that we are able to conduct those mock
Sure.
interviews. Right. So we'll skip our behavioral stuff because we already talked about it, and we'll jump straight into the problems, challenges. Are you ready?
Yes, always ready.
Okay. So for today's problem, I would like you to implement a class, right, that has a constructor or like an init method if you are coding in Python. This class is a hit counter. It has two methods, hit with some timestamp that records a hit. For example, like a visit to a specific web page at a given time, right? And then the second method is get hits. It also takes in some timestamp, and it should return the number of hits within last 5 minutes before this timestamp. So I can paste a simplified description of what's going on. Is this clear, or do you have any questions?
Give me a second, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So we are implementing the hit counter that has two methods. So we first record the hit, and then we, at the method get hits, return the number of hits in the past 5 minutes. And timestamp. So how exactly do we define 5 minutes?
Well, minutes consist of seconds.
Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase. Sorry. What is a type of a timestamp? Is it an actual timestamp, or is it some kind of
timestamp is an int, and the meaning of this int is it's given in seconds. So it's like the number of seconds that passed since the start of some epoch. Like, I don't know if you worked with timestamp. They are just random numbers, but they are like, they count time since some arbitrarily picked date. And in our problem, they will be given in seconds.
Okay, so basically, if our timestamp is 60, it means that we are at a minute, right?
Yeah, like a minute. Yeah, we can say like initially the time is 0, then calls happen, and yeah, if we see a hit with 60, it means that the hit happened, web page visit happened 1 minute after we started counting. So for example, 5 minutes would be 300 seconds.
And when we are given an input, can we have a consecutive timestamps such that the second timestamp is lower? So for example, first we do hit 60.
Timestamps are non-descending, non-decreasing.
Okay.
So they are not necessarily strictly increasing. They may be, because the granularity is very large, there may be multiple visits to a given web page within the same second. So there can be duplicate values, but they will never decrease. So you have
okay.
that.
Okay, I think it makes sense. So I suggest that we first do the kind of pseudocode or start writing the class and the functions and what they have to return, just to make sure that I understand everything correctly.
Yeah, I
And
can
then we
paste
can
the
talk about.
interface for you if you want to.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Right. Okay. You want Python, right?
Yes.
Python.
Yes.
In that case, 1 second, I need to grab the interface. Here. If you don't mind, I will paste it to the next page so that we
Sure.
can have it separated.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'll help you a little.
Of course. Thank you very much. I can even do even better.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, sorry.
No, it makes sense. I just wanted to add like proper tabulation, because if I don't do it now, then it will be messed up for the rest of the video. Tabs, yeah, because at LeetCode editor, I have tabulation set to spaces. When I paste it here, it doesn't work correctly. Yeah, no pass is a good Python sync. Yeah,
good starting point, right? Yeah, so just gonna be a bit annoying if it will keep capitalizing letters. Okay.
You can turn it off in Google Docs settings. I don't
Oh
remember.
yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
I think it is.
Another question. So the function hit records a hit that happens at a timestamp.
Right.
So we want to record all the hits, not only the one that happened within the past 5 minutes.
It depends. Like, for starters, we can assume that we don't have to store all the hits. If you no longer need a hit, feel free to discard it.
Okay.
But we can talk about it later. It's a part of one of the follow-ups. What if you have to do this?
Sure. Okay, so first of all, this function hit has to store record hits. So we need to find a way to store it somehow. And I don't know, maybe we will change it later, but let's say the hits are gonna be stored in some kind of an array that's initially empty. And then whenever we do a hit, so for example, recording hits could mean simply adding it to our array. So adding the timestamp. So we've recorded it. But then what we want to do is to only get hits with a timestamp from the current. Yeah, okay, of course. So that's, I guess, the current timestamp that we have, and we want to get the hits within the previous 300 seconds, right?
Yeah, just to clarify, the interval you're looking for looks like this.
Yeah.
So the right endpoint is included, but left one is not, just in case.
Okay. So what we do, the location of times of our starting timestamp in the array that we had, and from that location up until this, both of them actually.
I'm sorry, the connection broke down for a second. You were saying that from the location of this, you do what? From this until the end?
We want to find timestamps in this interval, right? Our array stores the timestamps. So what we could do is to find this element in the array and this element in the array and calculate the number of hits between them.
True.
Although when we will, but it can happen that we don't have exactly this timestamp. So we would rather be looking for a location where we could insert these both timestamps. And once we find where they have been inserted, we calculate the number of timestamps. So that's, I guess, a more straightforward solution for that.
Yeah, that makes sense. The thing I want to mention is, remember when I said that timestamps are non-decreasing, right? It applies to both methods, not only to hits.
Okay.
So like you don't have to search for the position of this because that will be just the end of the array.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Then we don't want to search for this position. Then we only want to search for this position.
How can you search for that position?
Binary search, I guess.
Yeah, that's possible. What would be the complexity of that solution?
Log n, because we split the array in half every time we're searching for something.
Right.
So
what's n here?
N is number of recorded hits.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that's the length of this array hits.
And what about the memory complexity?
So we do store the hits array, which is n, and when we're searching for a place to insert, we don't store any additional information. Well, barely. So just ON, it will be the memory, or one if we are looking for get.
No, memory we will analyze overall. Yeah, that makes sense. This is reasonably efficient. We can do better, but you may also implement this solution if you want to.
So what I was thinking is exactly what we talked a bit before, that we don't really need to store all the timestamps. We only need to store the ones within the past 5 minutes.
Right.
So whenever we append a timestamp, we can do a check, compare it to the first timestamp, for example. Yeah, okay, I will finish this thought. So compare it to the first timestamp. If it's further than 5 minutes away from it, and we can just delete the first one. But then we want to compare it to the second, and if it's further away than 5 minutes, we want to delete the second again. So what we want to do in that case is to find an index of an element, of the first element here that is not, that hasn't happened earlier than 5 minutes before the timestamp we are inserting. And once we do find it, we just remove everything before that, and we have a smaller array.
That makes sense.
And then here we will just return the, okay, that still capitalizes. And then we will just return self hits.
Right.
No, not really, because we still have a different. So, but yeah, so I think this one, I was mainly talking about this one, that we don't store every timestamp, we only store the timestamp that happens in the past 5 minutes. And I guess that it can be done the same way, just with a binary search.
Finding what to erase, right? Is also binary search, is
exactly.
what you're saying. Right, but that doesn't. It changes these numbers. I believe it changes them. Well, it depends, but it is possible to get this, right? Log n per hit and then a constant per get hits. What you're saying?
Yeah, well, it's going to be log n, but n is going to be smaller normally here, right? Because we don't store all of them. So it depends on, it has a potential to be smaller. So it doesn't have to be smaller. If all our timestamps are within 300 seconds, then it's going to be log n, but it can be smaller. And it's also bounded by 300.
Let's not dive too deep into the details of which n is smaller. Let's talk about this. You said that you're going to erase some prefix from an array. What's the complexity of this operation? Assuming you already have an index, right? So like, how long does it take to remove some prefix from a list?
That I actually don't know.
Well, it is a good question. I also don't know how a list is implemented on the C level specifically, but I'm pretty sure that it is not constant.
Yeah. And then it actually might be less efficient than storing all of that.
Yeah, because when you're slicing the list, potentially it has to move somewhere in memory to reallocate, and that takes a lot of time. And if it happens often, then it's not good. So let's think about this for a second. We are storing hits in a list, right? Now, lists are not good when it comes to removing from the front. Is there any other structure that is good at, appending to the back and removing from the front?
Yeah, we could do the queue, for example, or stack. I always get them confused too, but it's going to be more efficient, right?
Yeah, a queue can remove elements from the front in constant time and also append to the back in constant time.
Yeah.
Another thing to think about is if we are removing elements one by one anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to
Then
binary
we might not
search
need
for a
to,
position?
exactly, yeah, that's true. If we are removing them one by one, we don't need any kind of binary search.
Yeah,
We can
but
just do
like in
if statement.
in lists, the same thing actually happens. We remove them one by one. It's just implicit. Like it's on,
That's true.
there is a loop on C
Yeah,
level that does this.
that's
Right.
true.
So do you know
Okay.
what the queue is in Python?
I think
So
it's collections, the queue, if I'm not
deck,
mistaken.
yeah.
But
You can skip collections prefix. That's all good.
like this, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess if you only write it once, it's not a big issue. Yeah, it's deck. It's deck. It's double-ended queue.
Okay. Deck. Okay, I didn't know that. I always read it. Yeah, of course.
No, DQ, it just sounds like an operation when you remove something from the queue.
Yeah.
It's DQ. Yeah, but usually
Yeah.
people
Okay.
say deck.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, the appending something to the end will be just the same operation.
Yeah, it's append. I think the operations. I'm sorry. You have pop, append. They do the same thing. You also have pop left and append left, in case you need them. But supposedly you won't need this one and this one, so it's just append and pop left.
Okay. Yeah, and then here we can remove everything that is further than 300 seconds away from our current timestamp. But then if we want to get hits, we still need to figure out from which timestamp to start. Because
I think you
this
said
current
that we
time,
can do the same thing, no?
yeah, the binary search,
Okay.
right?
Why can't
Or
we
do you mean just the Oh yeah, we can also do comparison and at the same time remove every element because timestamps are not decreasing, right? So it will never happen that we now ask number of hits until second 8 and later until second 5. So we don't need to store that anymore.
No, well, otherwise we couldn't remove hits at all, even here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't guaranteed, right? Yeah, so you want to do the same thing here and here. That's good.
Yeah.
So we should code this approach now.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I think now is a good time to start coding this part.
Yes. Okay. So I can remove the to do now. So we're actually doing it. So we can first remove and then append. I think it doesn't matter. Let's do let's call the variable like we don't even need to. Do we also have a function to just look at the first element?
That's like a square brackets operator. We can say self hits at 0.
0. Yeah. Good. Maybe I should change the settings on my site as well, or reload so that.
That's a user specific setting, so like it's not by document.
Do you know where it starts? Where I can do that?
I did it a long time ago. I don't really remember now. Sorry.
Okay, then we can just ignore it if we don't see it. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm checking the first element in our queue. So that's how I'm accessing it. And then I'm doing a while loop that while this element is smaller than timestamp minus 300, so timestamp minus 5 minutes, we just remove it.
Yep.
So yeah, pop left.
Yeah, it was pop left.
But actually, pop left will already return the element, so we can update it, right? I'm just thinking about the starting condition. So we already have it, and then we will check this element again. Oh wait, no, we only remove it.
That looks
So like,
shady.
yeah. Yeah, because we already removed it, so we can just
that
do
would
it
be
like this.
Undesirable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Does that make sense, or am I writing a bit too much?
Or you can simplify the implementation a little bit, but that is not really important here.
Okay, but that should work. I feel like it's a bit.
We can. Let's at some point we will dry run our code anyways, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to spend 5 minutes trying to guess the conditions now if we can simply dry run later.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Let's leave it at this, right? And then
Okay.
we'll come back to it and revise it if we need it when we ran on some samples.
Yeah, sounds good. And then we do basically the same thing here, that we look at the first timestamp while it's smaller than while it's less than 5 minutes away. We just remove it, update it, and as soon as the while loop is over, we just return the length of self hits. So
right.
should be the implementation. Should we do a check on some kind of example just to make sure
Yes, absolutely.
it works properly?
We should.
Okay.
Do you have an example already in mind, or should I provide it? I think it
we
will
can.
Let me grab one example that I think will be helpful here.
Otherwise, we can also construct it together. Okay. So what the example does, first it initializes the hit counter.
It calls the constructor, then it calls the hit method with this argument, hit method with this argument, hit with this, get hits with 4. Yeah, I can actually paste the explanation as well. I think that would be beneficial. This is the explanation. We construct, well, that is like, that was some other language syntax.
It's fine. Actually, it looks okay. Yeah, I think it makes sense. Let's, so I just want to go over example one by one. I think we can just do it here. Yeah, I forgot that I'm not in the editor. So what happens first? First we initialize this. So I'm gonna here just write what we have in our queue self hits.
Okay.
Oh, it's equals. So first we do hits with 1. We don't have actually.
Yeah, we don't. That is a good catch.
So one way to fix it would be to just first append the timestamp.
That is a way. Yeah, that is a way.
So that would be a way to do that. Although here it still doesn't work because we're not appending anything. So question, can it happen that we call get hits
and get
before
0.
Any hits have
well,
actually
we don't necessarily
happened?
do this.
Okay.
Oh, can we? That is a good question. I think we can. Like there's no such constraint.
Yeah, I was thinking that first of all we could get that, but also it can be that just no hits happened within the last 5 minutes. So I think that would be a good check.
No, I think your implementation works if there were no hits within 5 last minutes. Oh no, okay, yeah. It's true, like if we call get hits first time and there were no calls within the last 5 minutes, it will erase the entire queue, and then second call will get an empty queue. That's right.
Yeah.
That is a good check, though. I have to see if they have such test cases.
Yeah, we can implement it without it and see if it fails. So anyways, first we append. There have been no hits less than 1, so we have nothing
negative 299.
less than negative, yeah, sorry, less than negative 299. So we do nothing. Then we append 2. Again, no hits that would lie in this interval. Then we append 3, right? And then we do get hits at timestamp 4. So now we are in this function. So first of all, we do check our array exists. So the current element is 1. 1 is okay. Wait, it has to be larger.
No, why?
No, okay, that was correct. So 1 is not smaller, so we just ignore this while loop.
We don't go
and
within a while. We return.
Yeah, true. And we return the length of hits, which is 3, and that's exactly what they expect us to do. Great. And we have not removed anything. Now we append 4. No, wait, we don't append 4.
No, we don't.
We don't append it. Okay. Now we hit 300. So what happens first? First we append 300 here. Our current is going to be 1. And now 1 is not smaller than 0.
It is not.
So we are good. Current 1. So great. We move further. We append 300, right? We
hold on.
Oh no, wait. We get hits, so we don't. Yeah, sorry. So now we get hits at 300. So current 1. Again, we ignore this while loop. We return the length of hits, which is 4.
That is correct.
4, correct. Great. And now we do hit again, right? We do get hits at 301. Okay. So we are here again. Our current is 1, sorry. And 1, well, it's not smaller than 301,
It is not.
but we do excluding here,
Yeah.
right?
How should we
So that's
change
why we
the
want to
condition? Yeah.
small, and now exactly do go inside the bubble. We remove the very left element, and we update our current with 2. Yeah, and then we don't go into this while loop again. So that's how our list looks like, and it has 3 elements. That's what we expected.
Okay. So this
Looks like it works.
Okay, this case does work. Let me think for a little bit. Yeah.
I construct a more interesting case which will not work.
Well, I can give it to
I
you.
hope not.
No, we absolutely, well, I do have such a test case. Let's come back to, at some point you were saying like, there may be no elements at this statement, right? So let's put something in before we do anything, right? So
Yeah.
basically, whenever
exactly.
we see this line of code, something may be wrong if the queue is empty, right? So here queue will never be empty. Here
Yeah.
it will never be empty because we will never remove this timestamp. Here the queue is not empty because we checked it. What
Here
about
it
here?
can be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could do like if self hits, then we do that. Else we just break. That could be an option.
There a more, well,
Yeah.
yes, the way you are doing this, it is an option.
It's not pretty.
Well,
I agree. So what I think,
like when you want to break from a while, you usually put it into the condition of while, right?
yeah, we can do a check if the length is at least 2.
No.
So
I think that this is now acceptable. It's not pretty, but it does work at the
yeah.
list.
And I think it's not pretty because of the way that I first defined current here, and there should be a way to do it nicer.
There is. Let me think. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, sure.
Because like, okay. Before we do that, let's actually talk about. We will not do that. We will do. Okay. Let me think what we should do with the remaining time. I think it doesn't really matter like how we do this part. I have a more serious concern about this sync and then this sync.
What are you concerned about?
Well, we are doing the same thing twice, right?
Ah, you mean that? Yeah, sure. We can
Yeah.
do like a. You mean just to make it into a function?
Of course, absolutely. Because like here we had to modify this, and no, we did not have to modify this, right? But just to think about this, like where we have to modify something, it requires a mental effort. That is already a high price to
Yeah.
pay. Like it's
Okay.
never wrong to, you know,
let's-
like break here. It's not wrong to break here, right? But it is wrong
Yeah,
to
sure.
not break here. Yeah.
Although actually might be if we just, it can also be empty here, right? So it will not be empty
Well, we
here.
know. No.
But it
This timestamp, it
can.
will never. We will never erase.
Oh yeah, it will
because
never.
it's-
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Let's do. How do you want to call it?
Just anything, like if you know
Update
the
it.
convention. Yeah.
So we can just. So it will not hurt to break the loop in here as well.
Yeah, it's fine.
So we can just do self update it. Yep. And
What about
here?
here? I think we are missing something here. So what about this update hits? What is this method currently?
So it
okay, like
needs a timestamp.
Well, at the very least, timestamp. Right. That is also an int, but annotations don't matter much. It also doesn't return anything. It doesn't really matter. Do you? Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now? Because my connection is a bit unstable.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
No, it's fine.
So here, look, we called this update hits on self, right?
Yeah.
But there is a difference between like get hits and update hits. Like get hits is an instance method, and update hits is not an instance method because we are missing something important here.
You mean like?
Yeah, because before that it was like what is it called? A class method, right, or a static method, depending on the terminologies that you use. Right, and that is also why we are able to refer to self here, because self is not a magic thing. Like you can name it, I believe, whatever. Like if you really want to, you can say this, and then refer to this here, right? I just wanted to say like self is not a magic thing. It is there because you explicitly passed it there, and if you don't pass it, it will not work. Yeah. Okay. I think that it will work too because like we did very little refactoring. It should not break. Let me just check. It does. I think it does work. Okay. Right. Yeah. So this concludes, I think, our coding part. I would like to now go over the feedback a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, would be great.
And we will do this in Ukrainian, if you don't mind. Тому що глядачам також цікаво, що ж там за фідбек такий. Так, ну тут все зрозуміло. По комунікації ніяких питань немає. Мені все сподобалося. Так, тобто clarifying questions були. Під час кодингу мені розказували, що ми робимо, чому ми робимо. Питань немає. По розв'язанню задач, ну, я там трішки натякнув на Q, але це не дуже принципово. З аналізом всього, ну як, з цим і з цим було нормально, потім то вже все одно я щось про Q розказував. Тут трішки гірше, але в цілому нормально, плюс двійковий пошук придумали, попередній кандидат не придумав двійковий пошук, наприклад. Тому тут питань немає. По technical competency у нас є така секція у фідбеку. Так, мені не дуже сподобалось. По-перше, ми там забули, я не знаю, як методи в Q називаються, popleft, чи ти пам'ятала?
Тут такий момент, що я думала, що це не має бути страшно, якщо я не знаю точний метод, якщо я його можу протягом 2 секунд загуглити.
Ні, в принципі, це не дуже страшно, але, ну, тобто, якби це було тільки там без цього пункту, так, то це дійсно advanced signal, там нічого такого. Ну, мені не сподобалося знову-таки про self, тобто цей сигнал ти явно не отримаєш, на жаль, про strong language, strong knowledge, так. По стилю все нормально, ніяких приколів з індентацією не було з дужками також. Ну, баги там якісь були, але ми їх виправили. Про dry мені давалося нагадувати. Ну, насправді, в момент, коли ти натискаєш Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V, так, вже щось іде не так. Коли ми там написали це, і потім... Ну і в цілому не дуже приємно, що ми там типу, якимись обхідними шляхами перевіряли, є елемент чи немає. Так, тобто, що тут можна було написати? Поки self-hits, так, поки там хоча б щось є, і self-hits 0
Звісно, так.
Не перевищує, просто self-hits popleft. Тоді, ну, бо я ж кажу, якщо ти хочеш брейкнутися в вайлі, то це хороша ідея просто цей condition перенести сюди. От. Таке. Ну і тоді ось це насправді можна прибирати. Це також можна, це leftover того, що у нас там було. Якби зараз update hits нормально працює, навіть якщо вона порожня, і len порожнього це дійсно 0. От, тобто є такий розвиток, кожен метод по 20. Ну, насправді я ще скажу так, це добре, що ми дійшли до розв'язку, де ця функція існує і викликається двічі, але в принципі достатньо ось цю операцію виконувати тільки тут, а тут можна без update hits обійтися. Тому що поки тобі не треба нічого повертати, тебе мало цікавить, як виглядають хіти всередині. От, але я б навіть сказав, що...
І комплексність не змінюється, правильно?
Ну як? Тут насправді комплексність, до якої ми дійшли, ми про це трішки не поговорили, але вона вся не звичайна, а амортизована. Так, те, що ми видаляємо від одиниці, це амортизоване. Може так статися, що ми за один виклик до getHits видалимо там 100 тисяч елементів старих. Так, але якщо викликів до getHits буде багато, послідовних, то кожен елемент видаляється не більше, ніж один раз, тому дійсно на кожен елемент від одиниці роботи. От.
Ну, до речі, в цьому випадку ми не можемо мати більше 300 елементів.
Ні, може.
Тому що
Я казав, що Ні, вони не це насправді був follow-up, про який ми не встигли поговорити. Що вони не складні, там, якщо буває багато дублікатів, то треба трішки інакше їх обробляти. Ну як, можна так само, але тоді тут буде дуже велика черга.
Можна рахувати кількість та рахувати, скільки у нас було hits на кожен таймстемп.
Ну, пари такі зберігати, таймстемп, хіти, але тоді не можна повертати довжину цього масива, тому що у нас там вже все
сумувати.
Ну, треба просто, сумувати також, сумувати це задовго. Довжина за від одиниці працює, якщо ти суму візьмеш, то це 300 елементів треба пройтися.
А як це?
Це все ще від одиниці, але це велика константа. Ну, треба просто цю суму підтримувати. Так щоразу, коли ти кладеш щось в чергу, ти суму збільшуєш, коли витягуєш, зменшуєш. Це вже такий advanced follow-up. Він тут не принциповий. По дебагу мені також все сподобалося, крім того, що у нас просто не було часу на розбір ще багатьох кейсів руками. І це не тільки в нас, це і може і на справжньому інтерв'ю не бути. Тепер що ще можна було сказати? Я б насправді просив якийсь кейс одразу. Його не завжди дають, але майже завжди ти хочеш мати якийсь кейс одразу, тому що він одразу тобі дає відповідь на деякі запитання, наприклад, там включається ліва границя чи ні. І тоді, навіть якщо тобі дали якийсь кейс одразу, тоді якраз на dry run краще придумувати свій кейс. Щоб не вийшло так, що ми підігнали розв'язок під той кейс, і він зрозуміло, що він працює. В цілому нормально, так? Тобто ми одразу розв'язали задачу за нормальну асимптотику за логарифм. Далі розв'язок з чергою – це вже оптимізація. Що мені не сподобалося, я вже сказав. Тобто дублювання коду і якісь синтаксичні приколи з Python. Я думаю, це не дуже принципово, але я маю про це сказати. Як мінімум, ти знатимеш на наступний раз, можливо, тобі допоможе. А як максимум, можливо, в залежності від того, на яку вакансію подаватися, також на це можуть звертати мінімальну увагу. То якщо є два кандидати, вони все однаково роблять, а один краще знає Python, то є ймовірність, що виберуть його. Добре,
або дивляться на behavioral.
Або так. В цьому Вікторія у нас спеціаліст. Добре, на цьому у нас все, чим ми хотілося поділитися з вами на сьогодні. Сподіваюся, вам було цікаво і пізнавально. Трішки з іншого боку подивитися. Кожен мок з новою людиною – це новий досвід, тому я вам також дуже рекомендую брати участь в моках, знаходити людей. Є велика українська спільнота, до нас конкретно в групу ви навряд чи зможете потрапити, але знайти людей в спільноті завжди можна, це допомагає. Все тоді.
Дуже тобі дякую, мені точно було цікаво, точно пізнавально.
Зараз.
Класна задачка.
Тоді я зупиняю запис.